Lesson 2 deals with individual and social structural causes of delinquency. So individual human beings, that's micro level, so personal feelings, mental cases, psychological issues, individual level issues, as well as social structural. If it's social, it's dealing with interaction. If it's structural, it's dealing with some type of system, something that's going on outside of the individual. It could be family, it could be the neighborhood conditions, a variety of structural conditions that impact delinquency, whether someone is going to commit a crime or not, whether they're going to be motivated or encouraged to act out some type of delinquent or criminal behavior. So we focus on theory in order to understand this. Now, theory is so critical for those of you who are sociologists or those of you who are just trying to understand why people actually act out criminal behavior, because those theories give us a context so we can understand as a whole. If we look at this general environment of people, we want to understand what are some of the major reasons why people are actually doing this. So some of these theories are very, very old, and then some of them have an old school touch to them with a sort of contemporary emphasis on research. Now, we'll cover some things that are so old that I don't even want to talk about it. That means it might affect how I feel about the world, you know. It may be something against people who look like me, and it might make me angry. But I'm still going to talk to you about it, because we need to understand that once these theories come out there, once they're introduced, they become a part of the ideology. They become a part of our theoretical framework. So even if it's not relevant, even if it's not valid right now, it's still a part of the history. And you still need to know about it. You still need to understand. So, we're going to talk about first rational choice theory. Typically, when someone talks about rationality, somebody's rational or not, they're going to be focusing on whether they're sane. Whether they're sane. That means, can you think critically about a situation? Can you use those thoughts that you have and generate an idea that makes sense? Are you sane? But it gets a little deeper when you start talking about theory, because so many people have used rational choice theory to present an idea about why people commit crime. So I'm just going to give you a couple examples, right? First, if somebody is rational in a rational choice theory, that means that they're able to weigh the means, you know, cost and benefit analysis. You're able to do a cost-benefit analysis. So I'm a juvenile, and I'm going to decide what I want to do about this. I'm going to first think critically about how is this going to benefit me. So if I commit a crime, how am I going to win by committing this particular crime? So I'm thinking about this. I'm not just going to go and, this is a nice bag, you know. I'm not just going to go and take your bag without thinking about the cost-benefit analysis of taking the bag. Next, some people commit crime. It's a nice bag. Some people commit crime because it's going to benefit their personal needs. So, you know, it's not necessarily that I am a criminal or that I want to hurt somebody, but I'm doing things in my life because I need something. You know, there's a goal that I want to achieve, so I'm going to do what I have to do in order to meet whatever that particular goal is. So using the rational choice perspective, everybody who is actually a criminal is not necessarily evil, but they're weighing this idea of benefit. How can I win? Don't you all want to win? You want to win, right? So sometimes we do things in an unorthodox way. Or we may do something, we may cheat. Sometimes we cheat, especially if we won't get caught. Or if we think we won't get caught, then we'll cheat in order to get what we want. So that means, using a rational choice theory, that means that you may have a checks and balancing system, and it is a process of decision making. There's decision making involved in order to get to this point where you're actually going to commit crime. So some people think, oh, if you're a criminal, you're a dummy. Criminals are dummies. These people are stupid. They're out doing things. They're a jerk. They're an idiot. That's the frame of mind that you want to use when you're talking about somebody who's committing crime. Not using this particular theory, you know. Some of our criminal-minded people are our most intelligent people in the community because not only are they able to succeed, but they're able to weigh out the cost-benefit analysis and figure out how they're going to use what they have to get what they want and how to get away with it. So, you know, being a criminal does not necessarily mean that these are the under-intelligent people in our society. It means that you may have, you know, winners who end up being losers. They lose in the system. So, rational choice theory has also been used in economics. Because doesn't it make sense? Cost-benefit analysis, whenever you start hearing things like that. It's been used to talk about, you know, consumer spending, purchasing, stealing, things like that. Very important. So, the key ideas are here. 1, individualism. 2, maximizing your goals. And 3, self-interest. So, when we're talking about rational choice theory, here are some 3 critical ideas that you have to understand. That it is about self. If somebody wants to commit a crime using this perspective and this understanding, we're going to try to promote self. We're going to try to see what we want, what we need, and we're going to use some type of thought process to figure out how we want to get to the end. Maximizing goals. I have a pursuit to win. My interest is in moving forward. So I'm going to commit crime not because I don't have anything else to do, not because I'm bored today and I'm going to go and steal that purse, but because by stealing this particular purse, I'm going to move up somewhere. I'm going to be in a better position after I commit this crime than I was beforehand. So these criminals aren't actually just local idiots. They're people who are trying to use crime as a context to move forward and to get ahead. They feel like this is their solution. This is the solution. This is how I'm going to solve my problem. I'm going to commit this crime so that I can maximize my goal. And why am I trying to maximize my goal? Because I'm thinking about myself. I'm thinking about myself. And that's really interesting because obviously I'm not thinking about you when I take your purse. So my main goal is me, not necessarily this person that I'm stealing from. I really don't care about you. I need that purse. So I'm sorry if you're disappointed, but really I'm not sorry. Because my goal is to do what I need to do to strengthen myself and maximize my goals and to make sure that my interests are met. And so some people in society, they don't know another way. Social learning theory. Maybe they have watched other people do this. Think about themselves first. Try to maximize their goals, not worrying about the next person and whether the next person is trying to succeed or not, but using critical thinking strategies and a cost-benefit analysis to try to figure out how they're going to move forward and how they're going to win.
You were talking about these people can be potentially very smart and are able to critically think. What makes them choose the instant gratification of crime versus a long-term goal of, hey, I'm going to plan so that I don't get myself into this situation?
Here's the deal. When we make rational choices, we make rational choices based upon the tools that we have in our toolbox. So you can only think critically about what you know and what you actually understand. So, silly, you can't expect your sister to make the choices that you make if she doesn't have the same set of tools in her toolbox to allow her to make those particular choices. So yeah, maybe somebody's going to do something that you may think is stupid, right? Or something that doesn't make sense, but they can only work with what they have. A rational actor can only work with what they have. So here's what rational choice theory involves. One, a rational actor. So somebody's involved, a human being, an individual is involved. And this is important because there are some crimes, if you're talking about structure, right, the structure may focus on the environment. It may not necessarily be about the people who are involved, but it may be about the environment. So that's why rational choice theory involves a rational actor. Next, some type of calculation. You have to come up with some type of idea. In order to use rational thought, there has to be some type of idea. Next, people are choosing. People are making a choice. Well, that's obviously why it's called rational choice theory. But some people believe, some individuals believe that in certain situations, an individual doesn't have agency. If you're a sociology major, you should have heard this word already. Agency, the ability to act, the ability to make choices. Some people say, well, I stole the can of beans because I didn't have another choice. There wasn't another option. The only way that I could eat was to go in that store and steal those beans or I was going to die. You know, I have diabetes, and the only way I would protect myself in Walmart right now is to go and open this jar of orange juice and drink it without paying because I felt like I would fall onto the floor and die. So a choice is made. When you think about rational choice theory, a choice is actually made. Some people will say, oh, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. But rational choice theorists say, you are making a choice. You may believe that you don't have other choices, but you die was an option. To die, to go into a diabetic coma, that was an option. You could have sat there and died. You could have had a candy bar in your pocket. How about that? You could have had a little mini Snickers bar in your pocket. You could have been prepared for that situation. But some people believe that other people are supposed to do something for them. Somebody owes me something. So I didn't have any other choices, so I stole this orange juice. Some people don't want to take responsibility for whatever is happening. Rational choice theorists say you have choices. There are options. You may not have known what they are, but they exist. 4, cost-benefit analysis. There's a cost-benefit analysis happening. This person is thinking about what they're doing, and they're weighing it. How am I going to win? Or how am I going to lose? Am I going to get caught? Am I going to get busted? That's usually the first thing that some people think, right? I'm thinking about getting together with a group of friends, and we're going to take this juvenile delinquency. We're going to take this juvenile delinquency exam together. We're going to cheat. I'm going to make sure that I answer the questions at least 5 minutes after she answers the questions. But we're all going to do very well. Or maybe my friend, she'll do poorly on the first test, because she'll answer the question first. But then on the second test, I may do a little poorly. But at the end, we'll all do the extra credit, and we'll all get an A. That's the way we're going to run this. Don't do it, I'll bust you out. All right. Number 5, choice. Maximize pleasure. Pleasure. The pleasure principle. The principles of pleasure. You don't know that?
I do.
What the color? Janet Jackson. Some year that I was dancing. All right. So, the principle of pleasure. Yeah, somebody's like, yeah, now I got you going. You want to maximize pleasure, and we talked about that, maximizing goals. You want to maximize your pleasure. Because don't you want to be happy? Even people who are criminals, they want to be happy too. People want to be happy. And so we have everybody here has a different way, a different road that we take to happiness. But rational choice theory, even the criminals, they want to be happy too. Their happiness may not be measured in the same way your happiness is measured, but let's go. There's some type of punishment or social contract that exists in society. So there are laws, there are rules and regulations that exist in law. Sometimes this person who is acting out this criminal behavior, sometimes they understand the social contract, and sometimes they don't. So that makes it really difficult sometimes if you're weighing out cost and benefit and you don't really understand the laws or the rules and regulations. People even lie to us sometimes. They tell us that the law is one way and it's really some other way. Or they leave out the small print. So you think you know that you're making a rational choice, but it doesn't turn out so well for you. Sorry for you, you've lost again. And some people lose a lot. As a matter of fact, some people lose every day. Every time you turn around, you're losing something else. And you're like, why do I keep losing? Well, maybe maybe these are the reasons why you're losing. You don't understand the rules and regulations. You don't understand the true meaning of the cost-benefit analysis in the situation. Maybe you're missing something. Maybe your ideology is flawed. Maybe you're too interested in yourself. So these are things to think about. So you think about this stuff, whether you're talking about a juvenile, whether you're talking about yourself. Rational choice theory is a very interesting theory to kind of contextualize your choices. Because it doesn't have to actually be a crime that you're acting out. It can be a delinquent act or something that is not normal in your life that you do that will later cause a problem. So all of these things that I'm talking to you about, you can apply those things when you're trying to make a decision, when you're trying to evaluate whether you're going to get somewhere the right way or not. So this is not just for juvenile delinquency. Rational choice theory has been used in social psychology, social sociology, social work, politics, all across the board. It's used the way your spending habits, whether you should buy something or not, whether this is a good purchase for you or not. This stuff is used. You got good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Next, number 7. I missed one. The state, or whatever the jurisdiction, has the job of maintaining order. So the state needs to maintain order. 1, rational actor. 2, a calculation, means to end calculation. 3, people choose behavior freely. 4, a cost-benefit analysis. 5, maximize pleasure. 6, social contract. So the idea here is that you have a social contract. That social contract can create the whole essence of pain. So you can be punished. Pain can come to you via the social contract. 7, the state is going to maintain order or laws. The state is going to maintain order or those laws that exist. The state is going to maintain order or laws. Because you have to know that somebody's out there looking. Somebody's watching. You're out in the streets acting up. Somebody can see you. They're watching you. And that's the interesting piece. Because if you have a system where the watcher is not doing what they're supposed to do, then that means that people are more likely, using this perspective, to act out crime. Because if the system is crappy, then people are going to be more likely to commit crime. Because the state has to be watching. They have to be paying attention. They have to be monitoring you because you're afraid. You're scared. You have to think about, remember, you have a cost-benefit analysis. I'm not going to take this purse right now because she's looking. I might get busted. And then there's a contract. So I have to understand that. What type of punishment am I going to experience if I take this purse? So if I wait until she's not looking, I drink her water, then I won't get in trouble. But if she's constantly watching, then I can never act out this particular crime. So think about that. When people are talking about rational choice theory, think about how important it has to be to have a system that makes sense. A system that is actually working. The system has to actually work. Somebody has to be out there monitoring, checking things out, making sure that nobody's actually committing crime. Because otherwise, that's free reign. It's an open situation. Now you can go and you can do anything because you're not going to get busted. Nobody's going to catch you. So then you can steal everybody's bag because nobody's watching. Remember, we talked about the money. Remember the money? Money is the money. You don't remember anything from, what is that, 500 weeks ago? That was 5 minutes ago. I don't remember that. I don't remember what number 5 is, I remember this money situation. But we talked about, how much money was it?
$100.
See, you don't remember. You and me now. If I had $100 sitting there, who's going to walk out with my money when I'm not looking?
Who's going to walk out with it?
All right. Okay. So, and number 8. Swiftness, severity, and certainty of punishment. So, swiftness, which means that the system is working very quickly, right? It's prompt, swift, severe, hardcore. The punishment matches the crime committed. Punishment matching the crime committed. And then certainty. If you do this, this will happen to you. So swiftness, severity, and certainty of punishment equals also understanding the law and control. So there has to be a relationship with rational choice theory. There has to be a relationship. The relationship has to exist between how that system is organized and how it's made up, and how people are controlled and how they understand that actual system. So if you have a group of people who are out of control and out of whack, and they don't understand the law, that's going to be connected with how the system is actually operating. So there's a definite relationship. There's a positive correlation between how the system is designed and whether people are under control and they understand that particular system. And that's what our rational choice theorists are going to talk about. Are you learning? So now, we have this umbrella. And the umbrella, it starts off at the top with rational choice theory. But then under that umbrella, you start seeing all of these different theories and information just branching off in all of these different directions, piggybacking on those 8 main ideas. That rational choice theory, then we have these different directions that we're taking. So we have the theory, and then we have some strategies that we want to use. And remember that relationship. The relationship was between the person understanding the system and being in control, and then on the other end, how the system was set up and how it's, designed, how things are organized. So obviously, we can have some type of crime elimination strategy that we come up with using that particular relationship. But then we also have theories, and theories explain behavior by looking at a variety of hypotheses and taking those hypotheses and putting them together and coming up with some type of general assumption about how we think people are behaving. So a general assumption that we come up with based upon things that we see happening in the community, in the hood, in the minds of little babies and children, in your head. You'll see on page 56, you'll see a rational choice and routine activities approach chart. So the first says, rational choice does not require full information. Paternoster. Rational choice does not require full information. And he asked that question. He said, well, what if? What if? And the answer was that rational choice does not require full information. So people can think rationally based upon the tools that they have in their toolbox, and it's still perceived of as being rational choice. So I still think my cousin Ray Ray is using this philosophy. Ray Ray is making rational choices, even though his decisions are very stupid in my eyes. Next. Risk perception increases with feedback. So, if I have a person who is acting out criminal behavior, and that person is receptive to communicating with me, interacting with me, I may be able to rehabilitate them by offering them feedback. So this person, if they're able to think rationally, if they fall within this framework where they have a cost-benefit analysis and they're using that to come up with whatever information, with feedback, I may be able to help them because their risk perception increases as people, give them more information. But that also goes the other way. So, if Ray Ray's cousin Jimmy is giving him more information, false information, more feedback to lead him in this direction as opposed to the yellow brick road that I'm trying to take Ray Ray to. You understand? He may continue to commit crime, or his criminal mind may be enhanced even more. So watch your back. Watch out who you're hanging around, right? Because the more feedback you get in whichever direction, it can take you there. Because the more information you get about criminal conduct, the more of that criminal conduct, the more of those ideas you're putting into your toolbox. So keep hanging around these silly people. that present you these really interesting ideas that lead you in this particular direction. Because feedback will enhance the possibilities of criminal success. Or it can enhance the possibilities of you moving forward. But feedback is important. When punishment, risks, and costs increase, crime rates will be lower over time. And that was included in our number 8. That makes sense to us now. Now we see what these theorists are saying. We see the hypotheses that they're introducing, and we see how they fit into our framework of 8 things. That's what I want you to do. Once you understand those 3 main ideas that we have under there, and you understand those 8 basic understandings of rational choice theory, anytime you see a theorist and you see them talking about something that fits under that umbrella, then you understand, oh, they're using rational choice theory, and this is why, because I understand those 8 main ideas, and I get it. I get how you can apply that particular theory. The availability of targets will basically motivate you. So, the more people that I see who I think can be played, the more I will play people. So, if I'm in here and I see the opportunity to take multiple iPads, multiple $100 bills, if I see that, then chances are that my criminal activity will increase. Because you're not watching. You're not watching. See how it fits in? You're not watching. So the more criminal activity that is available, the busier I'm going to be. Well, of course, unless I get feedback moving down the yellow brick road the other way. If I listen. If I'm receptive. If I'm receptive. Remember, rehabilitation with rational choice theory is based upon whether the person will actually listen, whether they actually bring it in. I went to an event today. I was there for 45 minutes trying to speak with this woman about receiving care and about the steps that she could take to receive care. But I continued to try to find different ways to make it connect. So I said, I refuse. I know that this lady, I know something is going on with this lady. But I'm going to try every measure that I can to try to get her to understand that she needs to call this telephone number. I even sang the telephone number. I tried to figure out how I could get someone who had a disorder to understand the value and the importance of calling this one number so that they can get assistance with their medication. Now, I understood that there was a challenge. But I knew that if I kept providing different types of feedback, that something would actually sink in. Because I wasn't willing to give up. I was going to sit there and continue communicating with this woman until she heard the message in some type of way. And I knew that it was worth it for me because I knew she needed the help. And I knew that anybody else, any other human being would walk away from this woman after sitting there talking to her for 4 minutes. They would say, she's crazy as hell, I'm out. And so I didn't. I sat there until she started walking around with me. She asked me to get her things. She established a relationship. And then eventually, she wrote that phone number down. Although her ability to make those choices was skewed, I understand rational choice theory. And I know how to apply it. It's really easy to apply it if you have to talk about it a couple hours later, too. But I knew what I needed to do. And some of you are going to go into a field of study. And you're going to have to try to figure out, how do I convince people? What do I have to do? I know that using rational choice theory, that I can figure out a way to get this information into this lady's head. But I have to be determined. I have to be willing to do what I can to make sure that she can get what she needs. So you all have to be patient. You have to think critically about how these theories can apply to real life and how you can use it in practice to try to get something to happen. You can't be disappointed if it doesn't work out. So if this woman doesn't call this phone number, I can't stop using this theoretical practice because theories don't apply to everybody. No matter what you do, you can try rational choice theory. It may not work out. And then we may have to use something else. But that's why you're here right now. That's why you're being schooled on this theoretical framework so that you can take it and understand that it's not just some silly mess written in a book. We're not just talking about stuff that is in your textbook. We're talking about how you can use this stuff and apply it for real life. And let me just throw out another one. Religion/community activities limit female delinquency. Let's talk about women here. So, That was a little biased, I thought. But I thought, let's talk about that anyway. Let's talk about how when you focus on community, when you focus on things that deal with social support, on nurturing, that those types of activities are more likely to enhance women. So, didn't that help me out with my conversation with this woman? I used the spiritual context to try to pull her in. I used the community development context to talk about support, to talk about how people care, to talk about building relationships. I talked about all of these different things to get her attention so that she could understand that I wasn't another person trying to jerk her around. I said, do you want to go get the flu shot? She said, how do I know that this isn't one of those programs where they try to kill all the homeless people? I said, well, I don't really know that either, so maybe you shouldn't get the flu shot. And we laughed. I think, well, I can't, what can I do? I don't know who's putting, to the flu shot. So I said, that's something my grandmother would say. I said, you really got me with that, because I wasn't expecting her to come with that. They put some HIV, some syphilis in the flu injection. I don't know. I can't, So I said, well, maybe you shouldn't do that. But you can call this phone number. There's no injection going to happen in your finger if you dial this phone number. I'm sure about that. So when we're talking as social workers, as sociologists, as activists, we can only relate to what we know. And I couldn't tell her that she wasn't going to die in that flu shot. I just could not do that because I didn't know. And my word is on the line. And your word is always on the line. When you're communicating with somebody, your word is always on the line. That's all you have. All you have is your word. So you be honest with the people. When you're applying these particular theories, make sure that you're being honest with yourself and you're being honest with other people, and have a good time. Have fun with it. Get a laugh. Make somebody laugh. Change somebody's day, because you make them laugh. You make them feel good, That's what people want that sometimes. Sometimes they don't. And when they don't, go away. All right, limitations of rational choice theory. One, we don't really know what motivates people to think a certain way. So I don't really know. I know that there's a cost-benefit analysis going on, but I don't really know what's going to make you say, I'm going to punch Johnny in the face. You could weigh the cost-benefit, and there could be 75 costs, and there could be only one benefit to punching this person in the face. And some of you will clearly hit this person in the face. Even though you weigh the costs and benefits and you know that this is a bad decision, some people will still do this. And so rational choice theory, it can't explain it. It cannot explain that at all. Why is it that I went to college and my cousins did not? We all knew what was going on in the community. We all knew the path. You go down this path, or you go down this path, and you have 5 babies, and we know the choices. I know the choices. My cousins know the choices. They're calling me, talking about, my money is gone again. And I'm like, you can enroll in this college. Get out. Go move somewhere else. I don't know what to tell you, but we all knew. We knew what paths we could take, but some of us decided to go this way. Some of us decided to go that way. So we understood. And rational choice theory, it can't explain that. Is it love? Is it instant gratification? What makes us decide to go down this path as opposed to that path when we understand what is actually going on? What is it? Why do we make that choice? Rational choice theories can't explain that. They can't, not at all. Next. They also can't explain this whole idea of inaccurate information and how inaccurate information impacts the choices that we make. Because some people have crappy information and they still make good choices. So in some communities, some people, they don't have the telephone number to the college or the university. They don't know anything. But somehow they end up on this particular road. And rational choice theorists can't explain how this person who had no ideas in their toolbox who didn't have a way of coming up with this cost-benefit analysis, they can't figure out how these people got on this road. So nothing that we talked about, none of the 8 ideas that we introduced, they can't explain that. They can't explain why this person goes down this road if they don't have the tools in the toolbox. They can't figure it out. They don't know. Some people say that when you try to compare individual level information, which is your ability, your thought processes, when you try to weigh that to social issues, that's really challenging. That it's a really difficult thing to do. And it is. It is. I mean, the 2 things that we talked about, the 2 things that they can't explain. They can't explain why somebody, chooses to go down this road when the costs are heavy. And they can't understand why, if somebody has tools in their toolbox, why they're able to be socially able. Why they're able to be socially mobile, to move up the hierarchy. They can't explain that. So that's one of the reasons why they say that, kind of mixing this individual level data with this social data, this community level data, that it kind of is I guess we roll the die. Sometimes it'll come out right, sometimes it won't. But it's worth trying. That's how most theories work. It's worth it. It's worth giving it a shot. It may not present us with accurate information all the time, but what theory will? What theory will? There are going to be limitations to every theory. But just because there's a limitation doesn't mean that you just throw it in the trash. It just means that it's an option. It's an option available for us so that we can think critically as social scientists about why this particular behavior is actually occurring. Next. So, rational choice theories oftentimes lean toward talking about criminality. They lean toward why people are making bad choices. They don't really spend a lot of time talking about how rational choice can be used to make better choices. So if you think rationally, how can you actually win? They spend more time focusing on the negative aspect. And some people are like, man, after a certain period of time, you get like the 1960s and 1970s, you start hearing all of this rational choice theory, this contemporary version of it, and people start saying, well, man, can't you talk about something positive? Some people just get disgusted. It's like, we've been spending all this time talking about negative and talking about, things like that. If we really want to rehabilitate people, why don't we use rational choice theory to talk about something positive, about how to be healthy, how to be empowered, how to grow? But most of the research is focusing on, how people use rational choice to do something wrong because, remember, the premise of the theory is based upon the relationship between having a strong, strict system and people understanding and people being under control. So if the theory itself is based upon controlling people and making sure they understand something, then why would you talk about how they win? We want to talk about how you control them. We want social control. We want people to be in order. We want people to do what they're supposed to do so we can make our money. I want to make my money. If I make my money in this classroom, it's going to be because you all are under control. You're reading the information, you're understanding what it is that I'm teaching, and you're getting an A in this class, and you're loving it. You're loving to get an A. That means that I'm doing my job. So I'm going to talk about how people don't follow the rules and how they fail to encourage you to do better, and I'm going to use this theoretical framework. I'm not going to waste my time talking about the people who win, because they are already under control. I got them. I want to focus on the people who aren't doing what they're supposed to do so that I can get them too. And so that's what happens with this theory. I already got the positive people in my pocket. I'm trying to work on the others. What in the world is the difference between what is rational and what is irrational? So if you're saying that someone who's rational is sane, but you're also saying you don't need full information to be rational, then who's irrational? Because I can name like 75 people that I know right off the bat. I can pull up an Excel sheet of my family members and name at least 85 out of 115 irrational situations. But if I use this theoretical framework, then they're all rational because they use the tools in their toolbox to come up with ideas that make sense. And I know this don't make sense. I know that, and I love these people, but they're not making rational choices. This don't make any sense. And you know that too, right? Well, some of you don't know that. You're nodding your head, yes, you know it, and you just made an irrational choice 5 minutes ago. Not 5 minutes ago, but 5 minutes before you came into class, you know. You may have sent an irrational text message, you know, I don't know. Somebody's like, that was me. I only had 2 minutes to think about it, so I just pressed send. And now I'm regretting it. I have to deal with it after class. All right. Any questions? So rational choice theory cannot explain what happens when people have the information and they don't make choices. Or they can't explain what happens when they don't have information, you know, and they make choices. And I'll tell you that there are some people that you can say something to 557 times. And no matter how many times you say it, people don't change unless they want to. So a person has to make the decision themselves to listen and to actually act it out. Nobody here can make anybody do anything. The person has to want to make the choice. That's what I say all the time. I'm only willing to help people who help themselves. So you want me to be your academic advisor? I can advise you all day long. But if you don't listen, if you don't follow the guidance, then I'm just wasting my time. You know, I'm saying these things and it's just going into la-la land. It's not going in here. It's not, you know, it's not impacting anything. So again, it would be nice if I could just put a tutorial up here and it just have all the answers to all the exams, and I can just say, okay, I'm going to press this, and I'm going to go to Chuck E. Cheese's with my daughter. And then all of you would get an A on the exam, because education and feedback should very well educate you and make sure that you're going to be a winner. The whole idea here with deterrence is that, one, you want to prevent somebody from acting out crime. But there's this other element, which is this whole idea of fear and preventing somebody else from committing crime. So when we have these deterrence theories, we want this to be a comprehensive situation. So not only do I want to prevent you from doing something, but I also have something intertwined where I want other people to actually stop doing whatever that is. When we think critically for a second, you know, what in the world would that have to do with rational choice theory? Some idea that we want control. So we want to control people. We want to prevent crime. We want to prevent crime because we're watching. Remember, we're watching. We're watching. We know that there are rules. We know that people are weighing out this cost-benefit analysis. And we know that people are thinking. We trust that they're thinking so that we know that there's some type of policy that we want to act out, because we know that if we give them more feedback, we know that if we introduce ideas, if we give them something to understand, if we enrich them, we know that's going to enhance the possibilities that they may not do this again. But that's what deterrence is all about. Some of you are into other types of philosophy, even as parents, you know. You're not into deterrence. You're into retribution, you know. You want retribution, you know, you get what you pay for. You know, I tell you to sit down, you don't want to sit down, then you get what you ask for, you know. You don't want to do what I tell you to do, you get in trouble. But then, you know, I'm into kind of a deterrence policy in the classroom. You know, I want to try to help you to help yourself. So some people, oh, well, I thought we were only supposed to do part 1, but then I see I got 50% on homework. Is there a possibility that I can do the other half? Because I clearly didn't see that. And I'll say, don't ever do it again. Yeah, you can submit the other half. You know, but don't ever do that again. Or, you know, I'm gonna give you a 0. You know, that's kind of deterrence. You know, I want you to understand that, you know, I need to rehabilitate your mind. I want you to understand that, you know, you need to read through this thoroughly. You need to see what it is that you need to do for this assignment, and I want you to win. So you're contacting me. You're saying, I've weighed this out. You know, I've rationally weighed this out, and I see that there's a cost. I didn't do all my homework, so I just lost 50%. Points. And now I want to do better. I want to be a better student. So I'm going to give you this one chance. I'm going to give you this one chance. This is a very general deterrence theory that I'm giving you right now. I'm going to give you this one chance to do better. Beccaria is going to talk to us about classic deterrence. And this is a notion of rational choice. This is homework, answered homework. Discuss the impact of Cesar Beccaria and Jeremy Bentham and, their influence to rational choice theory. This is the answer right here. Okay, just throwing that out there. One, punishment should only be severe enough to offset punishable behavior. So some of you have professors who will just take you out by the legs, You didn't get this right? This was worth 50% of your grade. And here's if you just failed. Yeah.
Can you repeat that again?
Mm-hmm. The punishment should only be severe enough to stop them from doing the criminal behavior again, basically. You don't have to take them out. Just make the punishment be so severe that they understand what happened and then they don't do it again. Now, you always run risk of that person who's going to try to, try you. And then you have the power to take them out. But you don't have to take them out the first time. The first time you can use a strategy and try to scare them into not doing it again. And sometimes this works. Sometimes it doesn't, but it's just a philosophy. It's something you can use this stuff with your everyday life, not just juvenile delinquency. You understand? You can use this with your girlfriend. You can use this with your boyfriend. If somebody does something wrong, you can't wait to punish them. You have to punish them right after they do it. They need to be able to make the connection between the punishment and what they did wrong. They need to be able to make a connection between the punishment and what they've done wrong. So the punishment has to be swift, and you have to know, you have to be certain about what that punishment is. So they have to know exactly why they're being punished, and you have to do it quickly and align it with what they've done. Let me see if I can use a personal example. That always works for me. Baby said to me, I said, baby, if you drop food on the floor when you're eating, you need to pick that food up and put it in the trash can so that it doesn't, it's not smashed into the rug, and so that you don't make a mess. You need to be responsible. So I'm laying out, I'm saying, this is the rule. And I'm controlling you because I'm looking at you. Pick the food up. And she looks at me and she says, but I thought you were my butler. Only in my house. I thought you were my butler. 6. So I screamed, Alex, you better come up here and get your child, because she doesn't seem to understand what's going on in here. So Daddy comes up and he says, well, what happened? I said, well, this one here seems to think I'm a butler. And he steps back. He says, you need to apologize to your mother right now. That was very disrespectful what you said to her. You don't talk to your mother like that. You don't say anything like that. And I don't want to hear you do that again. You understand? But I thought people who cleaned up all the time were the butlers. I'm sorry, Mommy. Swift and certain. I was not certain of what the punishment should be. I didn't know how to handle it. It was personally a little funny. But I knew something had to be done right now. And I knew that my husband knew the answer to questions like that. A lot more than I did, because I didn't know what to do. So sometimes we don't know the answer. but quickly we have to figure out who will know the answer. Maybe do a Google search. Figure out who knows the answer and deal with the situation when it happens, because otherwise you'll be the butler. In the eyes of that person. You will be the butler because you didn't dispute it. You didn't dispute that. You couldn't figure out what to say. And I'm not the butler. I'm not. And this is a good one. Extreme severity is counterproductive. Extreme severity is counterproductive. So if your punishment is worse than the crime, usually that causes some type of backlash and the person does not learn the lesson. So if the punishment is more severe than the crime, you leave the person thinking about what you did to them as opposed to what they don't need to do again. That was too deep for juvenile delinquency class, wasn't it? Too deep. Don't haul off and pop that kid in the mouth. Don't choke them. Don't choke that kid till they turn blue. Here are the 3 core ideas. 3 core ideas. So anybody who writes about rational choice theory, routine activities theories, any of these crime elimination strategies, if anybody piggybacks off of Beccaria, here are the core ideas that you can use to connect them. First, individuals have free will. Free will. And his definition of free will basically aligns to people being able to make their own rational choices. So free will means that you're going to do what you want to do based upon the choices that you have available to you. So everybody in this room can do what they choose to do. And there's going to be some type of outcome. There's going to be some type of punishment, but you can be punished too. Next, individuals make choices based upon this whole notion that they have free will. So what that basically means is that if you believe that your ideas or your feelings or your actions were somehow against the law, then the law would constrain you and control you and manipulate how you do things and what you do. Manipulated. People are going to try to manipulate others because of their self-interest. And so that word manipulation is sort of like the word judgment. Because you all don't like somebody to say, oh, you're judging that person. I'm just assessing what's going on. You know, I'm not judging this person. I just know that they're evil and, you know, that they make silly choices. But I'm not judging them. I'm just kind of evaluating what's going on. Well, manipulate. I'm not trying to give this person a suggestion or an idea about something so that things can work out in my favor. I'm just trying to help them understand what's going on. I'm not manipulating them. I'm just helping out. You see where I'm coming from with this? So when you hear the word manipulation, manipulation has gotten a bad rep in society. But you understand what this theorist is talking about. That people will manipulate the situation to get what they want. So I will teach my daughter what I need to teach her so that she'll put her clothes in the dirty clothes basket and so that she speaks, you know, proper English and she speaks respectfully to other people. I'll give her the information that I feel she needs to have because my interest is to be a good mom and to make sure that she's ready for whatever she needs to experience. I will manipulate this situation. I'll come up with all types of interesting things to say to make sure that I get what I want. And I'm going to use my rational choice philosophy to get what I need. That's what he's talking about. You understand that? And that's the framework. So those 3 things are the framework. Not the other 5 things that are listed under rational choice theory, but those 3 main ideas That's what this particular theorist is talking about. Remember, when Bentham, pleasure principle. That's Bentham. I prefer pleasure over pain. I want to be happy as opposed to being miserable. We call that the greatest happiness principle. The greatest happiness principle. The idea that I prefer pleasure over pain. Utility. That's what they're talking about. Utilitarian. If you've read that in your books, the utilitarian theory, it's the idea that people prefer pleasure over pain. Our core ideas, based upon utilitarian objectives, in the criminal justice system, in the juvenile justice system, is one, we want to prevent all criminal offenses. People enjoy pleasure as opposed to pain. So we don't want anybody to go through the pain of being in jail, being incarcerated, being away from their families. So we want to prevent as much as humanly possible because we don't want people to go through that particular punishment. It's not necessary. It's not necessary for people to experience something bad. So we want to lead them down the yellow brick road so that they can experience pleasure as opposed to pain. 2, manipulation. If, in fact, we can't prevent all crime, then we want to at least convince them to commit a less serious crime. So if we can't prevent the extreme criminal behavior, we want to at least prevent something. So our criminal justice system should always be working to prevent something. If we can't stop you from doing this, then at least we'll go in this particular direction. Maybe some tools or feedback will go into your toolbox, and then maybe we can stop you from doing other things. So we may not be able to, stop it in a broader context, but we may be able to target some other small things that are happening with hope that we can change this community. I may not be able to turn everybody around, but I can have a pregnancy prevention program. I can have a culinary arts program here. I can have some type of welfare to work program. I can come up with these different ideas so that I can prevent something, even though I know I can't do everything. And hopefully that'll make a difference. I may not have the money to prevent everything, but I'm not just going to throw my hands up in the air and say, oh, these people are evil, they're never going to make it. There's a culture of poverty. Those people who've taken sociology, who's taken general sociology, learn about the culture of poverty. Some people think that there's generational influence of poverty and that people who are poor, most of them that are in the underclass, they're going to be poor forever. They're never getting out. So why should I invest my money into these hoodlums, these heathens? Why should I put my money into them when they're just going to be nothing? They're not going to do anything anyway. Not here. Not Bentham. No. I may not be able to prevent everything, but I'm going to put my energy towards something. I'm going to give them something with hopes that that will make some type of difference in our community. Because this is a rational choice theory. And there is a relationship between understanding and control and then how the system is set up. So even though you may be a member of this lower class community, you have all these constraints going on, I do understand that if I do something in my legal system, if I do something to support you, something's better than nothing, isn't it? But some people don't feel that way. That's why Bentham is important, because some people just throw in the towel on those people. They say, well, let's just see how many we can incarcerate. The more the merrier. Let's throw them all in jail. Where's that key? I don't care. Throw it out. Because I'd rather put you in jail than come up with an idea to make something better for your life based upon this principle that people don't enjoy pain. They would prefer pleasure. So if I can't make your entire life better, well, maybe I can do something. And then the last is, let's do it for a low cost. Shoot. we only have one pie, so let's try to do what we can with that pie. All right.